Actress and singer who created a very meaty part in We Will Rock You. She also dreamed the dream in Les Mis and even toured the country in Miss Saigon. For the past couple of years or so, she's been starring as a wicked green witch, both in London's West End and on Broadway. She is Kerry Ellis. Hi, Kerry. How are you doing?
I'm very well, thank you. Thanks for having me on.
Well, thanks so much for coming in. It's great to see you. Now, before we run through your essential musicals, let's talk a bit about Wicked. You've just finished playing the role of Elphaba in London. Have you enjoyed it?
I've loved every minute. It's been a real roller coaster. I've been lucky to play it in the London West End and also on Broadway, and it's just been mad. I mean, it's been the biggest role of my life, and it's brought different challenges of, you know, how to sustain it 8 times a week, but it's been brilliant.
So who actually is Elphaba? How would you describe her?
She's basically a misunderstood young girl who has a power that she doesn't really know how to control until she gets a bit older. And she cares about the things in life, about friendship, about animals, about being good, and she's very well educated. And then she turns into this wicked witch, but it's kind of by default, really, because she's trying to do good, but it comes across as being bad.
Now listen, we receive a lot of emails and requests for the show for Wicked, and more often than not I've noticed that they're from younger people and teenage girls in particular. What do you think it is about the show that connects with a younger audience in particular?
I think people just identify with the characters, whether it's Elphaba, Glinda, the wizard. People really identify with feeling different, being an outcast, and you know, I get a lot of letters from young girls as well, kind of saying, you know, that's how I felt at school. I was bullied, but you know, I see that you got through it all and came out better the other side, and I think it's just because they can relate to it, and it's just comforting.
Malcolm, let's enjoy Kerry's version of Defying Gravity from Wicked. Defying Gravity, performed by Brian May and my special guest today, Kerry Ellis. And you performed that at last year's Raw Variety show, didn't you?
I did, and
what was that like? What was that
experience? It was a real dream come true. I mean, performing at the Raw Variety was just, you know, I used to watch it as a kid, and you know, you see all these people, big stars, and you see them all singing, and you see big shows come on, and I used to be blown away and think, you know, yeah, one day I would love to do that. And then actually doing it, and the reality of doing it
was what?
It was just incredible and mind-blowing, you know, looking over and going, hang on a minute, I'm at the Royal Variety, there's Brian May, I'm singing songs from Wicked, this is mad, this is so surreal, and I loved it every second. I was so lucky.
Now, you played Elphaba on Broadway as well as the West End. How did the two experiences compare?
It was very different there. I think people are on shorter contracts, so say the Wizard would have been on a 6-month contract and I was on a 5, the Glinda was on, say, a 9. So everybody's kind of coming and going at different times, which kind of makes, you know, you're very much going in to do your job, whereas in London we all change once a year, so you kind of have a bit more of a company feel. But over there also it's very much, the business side is so driven and competitive that it's like an oiled car. It just runs, and if you're not on there to, you know, ride the wave as such, you know, you're going to fall off. But it was a great experience to actually, you know, take the show to another level and be challenged again, and then bring back all those experiences to the West End.
Now, Kerry, the part of Elphaba in Wicked was created by Idina Menzel, who actually came on this show last year. Was she a hard act to follow, or didn't you ever think about that? I mean, how was your Elphaba different from hers, do you suppose?
Well, I think the difference is Idina was kind of where I am now. She was at a different phase, whereas I was doing the show for the first time, so I had a complete fresh look at it. You know, she'd been doing it for, I think she did it for 3 years or so, and so she'd had so much experience with it that, again, it was so in her body and second nature to her, whereas I had to come in and look at it all fresh and, you know, think up new ideas, and Anna was doing it in a British accent, so it kind of changed it slightly anyway. And I think with any show, you know, you go in and you try and put your own mark on it and just do what is true to you and what works for you, really. So I didn't really think about it too much, because I think I would have been a bit daunted if I had.
Yeah, it's probably best not to consider it too much.
I think so.
Now, I've had a number of emails asking if there's going to be a film version of Wicked, and as someone who's been living on the yellow brick road for a few years now, have you heard anything?
I did hear, actually, when I was in New York, I did hear that there was going to be a film made in the next year or so. I might have got that wrong, but I think want to, but I haven't heard anything definite yet.
I think it'd make a great movie, don't you?
I think it would be great. I think with the following from the show, I think it's a no-brainer.
Malk, let's hear another Wicked number. Go on, go on. Girl from Wicked, performed by Kerry Ellis. And that was taken from your CD single that I think was produced by Brian May, wasn't it?
Yes.
And Brian is he's a bit central, isn't he, to your first Essential musical as well this afternoon. What's it going to be?
My first Essential music is We Will Rock You, and the track is No One But You.
Now, I know that this show is a special one for you because you starred in the original London production. It's based on the songs of Queen, as I'm sure everybody knows. Do you think that it's taken seriously as a piece of musical theatre by aficionados? Because it is really a songbook show, isn't it?
I don't think initially it was. I mean, we got terrible reviews when it first came out, and I think it was run, you know, we had Queen and Ben Elton, and it was going to be great, and I think we just got a bit hammered by the critics it was a bit unfair, really. So, but you know, it shows what happens with good shows, because it's been running 7-8 years. It's a great night of entertainment. It's not Chekhov, it's not Shakespeare, but that's not
what's the story then? What's the premise? I mean, there must have been a thin storyline at least, wasn't there?
Yeah,
Isn't there?
I mean, it's basically about some bohemians who go on a trail to find the forbidden music, basically, which is the Queen music, and it's just fun and light-hearted, you know, and it touches your heart, but you have a great time. It's like going to a rock concert, and it's great.
Who did you play?
I played Meatloaf.
Meatloaf. That's silly.
Which was always quite funny trying to describe. When we were doing press for it initially, you know, people saying, "Who do you play?" I say, Meatloaf, and then it was always kind of a recipe for disaster.
So who was Meatloaf?
Meatloaf was a bohemian that was kind of like a rebel, who showed Scaramouche and Galileo kind of the way, and she had a boyfriend called Britney Spears, who I think is now called something else.
Now, the show obviously has been a staggering success, and is still going strong. There have been 16 international productions, and I think there's a UK tour as well. It really is remarkable. So why this song then, Kerry?
I think I've chosen this song because it was my first role I created, and it was kind of my launch pad to a brilliant career that I've been lucky enough to have, I think. And I've loved working on it with Brian, and it's an honour to sing one of his songs.
Let's hear it, Malk.